Thank you so much, everybody. My name is Diego Barahona. If you detect a sexy southern accent, it's because I'm from the deep south. I'm from South America, from Ecuador. I work for La Noticia for 18 years now. We are the largest Spanish language news organization in North Carolina. And I'm very happy to be with a panel of experts. And I think the best way to introduce them is by themselves. So please introduce yourselves, and we will start this conversation.
Hey everyone, my name is Jessica Moreno. I'm a housing justice organizer and program director at Action NC. I'm also an artist, singer-songwriter, and I organize in various different types of housing.
Hi guys, my name is Calzadilla. I'm the president of SunSouth Carolina. It's a contractor, a general contractor in Northern South Carolina. We have hold a bunch of certification and start the hub certified, minority certification, and small business certification. And we do residential, we do commercials.
So I'm Victor Loor. I am the RVP from the Latino Community Credit Union. So happy to be part of that institution for about 15 years.
And I'm David Nettles. I'm with Clear Voice Translations. We've been serving the Charlotte community and the wider region for over 7 years now. And we really just love to empower our neighbors, and we want to see everybody come together as a community, and language is the core component to be able to do that.
Thank you so much. A round of applause to our panelists. Thank you for coming. So, a welcome city, immigration, policies, and housing in Charlotte. Just a brief summary of what are we going to talk. Immigration authorities are active in North Carolina. During the week of May 12 to 19, our Carolina Migrant Network reported over 133 calls and messages from people telling them that ICE was operating in Charlotte. The organization verified multiple arrests, many of which they say were of immigrants with no criminal records. Nationally, 4 out of 10 immigrants, 44%, detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, have no criminal records. Many others have only just minor offenses, including traffic violations, according to the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse track. This data clearly presents a problem for the narrative of the people that try to support President Trump's policies on immigration, that they are going through the bad people, are going to chase the bad people. Meanwhile, the authorities trying to justify the presence they are under, the pressure that they are under to increase arrest quotas by publicly highlighting cases involving immigrants with criminal records. But at the end, this distorts reality and fuels misconceptions. Maybe some of you have heard that last week we had the case of a couple of arrests in Charlotte next to a school, right? So because of the pressure of the press, ICE released information of one of the persons that were detained with a criminal record. However, they didn't mention nothing about the other 16 people that were arrested in the area. One of them was Jose Refugio Martinez, father of 11 kids with no criminal records. Finally, deporting 11 million undocumented immigrants is very expensive, as you can imagine. It's unrealistic. The Trump administration is using fear as a tool, a deterrent. They are spreading the idea that there is no safe place for undocumented immigrants. So they get discouraged and they self-deport. It's cheaper that way, according to the government. And the campaign of spreading fear is working. In North Carolina, 250,000 US citizens live with at least one undocumented family member. Hundreds of thousands of families are currently living in fear in our midst. And fear can paralyze people going to work. Fear can freeze the plans of families to buy a house, to rent. Fear will affect our schools, churches, neighborhoods, our economy. With that in mind, I would like to start with Carlos. La Noticia conducted a survey some weeks ago with contractors and subcontractors to see if there is any change in the workforce in construction. And we detect that many of them told us a third of the workforce are just not showing up to work. So in your experience, have you noticed any changes since the Trump administration arrived to the White House?
Yeah. I think first I'm going to say, I know this is speaking from people is kind of different from me, so have passion with me. But yes, and definitely see the big difference. And one of the biggest things for us is like people are scared. All our employees are scared. That's just not me as a builder, but like a whole the construction company is scared. You know, one a lot of the skills employees that we have, they are the prominent right now. When we do commercial jobs, they don't want to go to the big builds anymore. They don't want to go to the state. They don't want to go to the Mexico. They don't want to go do the travels anymore because they're afraid that something can happen there. And even with the people, they don't even have the papers. So the thing is just for everybody. Like it's not, they don't feel safe anymore. They don't feel like it's kind of hard, really hard to put in words. But it's really difficult for those people just keep working. And now how to have the business owner is super hard too because it gave me almost impossible now to organize my crews to do the next project. Because before, okay, you know what, I got 7, 8 crews, I got people going for next month. Or now, well, I don't have those guys anymore. I don't know what's happening tomorrow, so now I need to do, so I have to say no to the jobs, or I need to just keep pushing it back until I figure out what I'm gonna do. And that's not something that I noticed, it's not something about the workforce, it's just for the families. Yeah, I think that's the harder thing for us. But yeah, we see big different than ever been before.
Thank you so much, Victor. Have you noticed any changes in consumer behavior? You work in the biggest Latino credit union, La Cooperativa Latina in Spanish, especially in house loans, car loans. Have you noticed any changes?
Yes, I will respond this in Spanish because I have my
Absolutely.
It's fine for you, for you guys. So it's very important to mention something. Nosotros, como cooperativa, tenemos aproximadamente 150,000 socios.
So we, as a cooperative, we've got about 150,000 associates with us.
Correcto, de 137 países aproximadamente. Estamos sirviendo a nuestra comunidad. ¿Qué sucede con este asunto inmigratorio? Existe mucho miedo de nuestra comunidad, mucho miedo de salir a comprar, contraer obligaciones a largo plazo.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's all right. No, it's fine. So our community, they are taking care in order to taking any long-term obligations. I would say. ¿Qué pasa? No solamente para los mortgage.
Not just for the la hipoteca, the mortgage.
Para la hipoteca, sino para préstamos de vehículos. Es muy complicado porque el miedo existe. Nuestra comunidad sale a comprar a las tiendas, sale a trabajar y son las dos únicas razones por las que nuestra comunidad sale de sus casas. El miedo existe.
Let's
Okay,
put a comma there, please.
Sorry. It's my first time using a translator.
It's okay. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. Not just for the mortgages, but also for getting loans for cars. Our community experiences a lot of fear in general, and so they might only just be leaving to go to the store to get basic things to be able to survive. So that's a huge concern for our community. Immigration
and inversión no es lo mismo, pero va de la mano.
So immigration and investment, they're not the same thing, but they are worthy of putting our hand to the job.
Nuestra comunidad tiene los recursos financieros y tienen un trabajo estable.
So it's important that our community has the financial resources available to them and that they have that stability in their life.
Pero están siendo muy cuidadosos a la hora de tener una obligación a largo plazo.
But of course, people are being very careful or precautious to put themselves into some sort of financial obligation, especially when there's so much insecurity or instability in their life.
Yeah.
Just last year, Governor Stein, he visited Charlotte. He was in the Latin American Chamber of Commerce, and he mentioned to the study that if Latinos in the U.S. were a country, we were the 5th largest economy in the world. However, people are not spending money. Let's go back to the tenant issue, and Jessica is an expert on that, and she has been working with tenants for a long time. Have you noticed any changes also since the Trump administration is in the White House?
I think I'm pretty much going to repeat what what they said, but I started noticing a lot of fear. People self-deporting, like you had mentioned. People are like, I'd rather go than be subject to, just racism, personal attacks just because of how they look or who. And it's even been mentioned in my family, like people are planning their escape because they're being targeted, like really literally. And we even talked about it in my family because even as a U.S. citizen, You know, my citizenship has been on the line where, you know, my mom was not always documented, and immigration is very fluid. You can be documented in one moment, but a law changes and TPS is removed, and now you don't have status anymore. And so we have families that are mixed status, a lot of them. And when it comes to, I mean, we're gonna lose the protection for citizens that are within mixed status families. But I saw a lot of fear. I saw like people planning their escape. People aren't going to work. They're scared to go to work. Their kids are traumatized. They're not sending kids to school. And the kids are traumatized because they're seeing the attacks on their families. So that's what I started seeing in the beginning. And now, like you mentioned, Carolina Micro Network, they're out verifying and seeing that immigration is really out here. But even in the outskirts, like in Gastonia, I'm seeing a lot of checkpoints where they're checking for licenses, and maybe immigration isn't there just yet, but we're seeing a lot of more presence from other entities that are not exactly immigration, and that's just causing more and more fear. And so that's what
What
I've
about
seen.
landlords? Have you seen, I don't know, some might think that this might be a
Yeah.
chance to, you know, take advantage of this situation. Have you seen something like that? Or
Okay, across the board, even before this is happening, it's so hard to get people to fight for themselves. If they're having code enforcement and they want to get any issue fixed, it's hard for people to get their issues fixed if they're a group of people like immigrants who may not speak the language or who may not have all the resources or not know where to go to get informed. They're already targeted with abuse. And obviously this is going to create an environment where people are even more hesitant and will accept more abuse just to stay under the radar and stay as protected as possible. So yes, I've seen people that are getting fined for having a bike on the porch or for having a meeting with 5 friends on their porch every day for an hour. People are being targeted or fined, and that's abuse. That's like, you can't be a person in your house if you're an other person. And that's real. I mean, so it's magnified. It is magnified, and it's harder to get people to fight for themselves if they are being displaced. We still have the same issues of housing insecurities on top of the immigration thing. So now, like, there's communities that are being gentrified out that have been in their homes for 20 plus years, and now they're facing a situation where you have to be out in 6 months. This is a mobile home community in Charlotte. And they've gotten notice, and they're immigrants. And you think that it's not in the back of their mind? Like, we're in danger if we fight for ourselves. If we fight for ourselves, we will be targeted. Like, that's on the back of their minds, and that's why we need to support more than ever these communities, and especially with media putting real stories out there. It's not illegal to be undocumented. Like, it's not criminal, right? We're all human.
Carlos wanted to mention something.
And something else, after listening to you saying, like, I'm going to bring back the question you asked me, Diego. It's like, what's happening now, too, and there's a lot of young people right there that, they live in the day, like, day by day. Yeah. So there's some guy that has a lot of talents out there, they got 2 language, 3 language, they graduate in their country, so now they live in day by day. They don't want to take the chance or the opportunity to be trained or to be educated more to become better, better professionals here, because the way they think, okay, well, you know what, I'm going to try to make a little bit of money today because tomorrow I'm not going to be here. So now what's going to happen? The skilled laborers, well, I don't care about being skilled. I don't care about being better because tomorrow I'm probably not going to be here. So I'm going to go to work. I'm going to make my day and see what happens tomorrow. But what happened with that, like, I think right now it's a problem. Yeah. But I can see that being a worse problem in the short future.
I was just about to ask you that because, part of affordable housing is to have houses that are affordable. And if you don't have the talent, the people building, that's going to be a problem. And just immigrants are one of the largest groups working on construction. A third of every constructor in North Carolina is an immigrant. I was reading this statistic that says that 61% of painters are immigrants in North Carolina. So, Carlos, in your view, how might the construction industry will be affected if this kind of restrictive policies stay in place in the long term?
Well, you know, just simple as not going to be building that much, and the community is not going to keep growing and see what's going to happen. Because the people that have be able to stay here and work, they're not willing to work that hard because they have, call advantage, that right to say? Because they feel that they have advantage, so they have entitled to anything else. But those people, they don't want to work as hard because they have the advantage for everybody else. So for us as a construction company, it really puts us in the really hard, like, in the hard situation on there, because now we need to get more, we need to pay for more, we need to charge more. And we don't have enough people now to work. Like I said, like, you know, the housing, well, you know, it's no way, we're a business, we need to charge. We need to pay our guys. Pay everything higher, everything's more, and we know how the people to work, so that's the thing. It's hard. Kind of hard.
Y'all remember how much the eggs were a while ago?
Yeah.
So imagine trying to get something fixed in our homes, how much that's gonna cost.
Yeah.
I used to market to plumbers. I used to work for a restoration company that did like fire, water damage, all of that. And I marketed to basically all the plumbers in our region. And they're all dying off. Like, they're all older white men, and they're dying off. And we cut off programs to teach the youth these skilled, right? We pushed, I think, more university, college, and we forgot about our trades that are so important. So we're losing so much that I don't know if we really are sitting with it. And now we're attacking the people that are doing the work. It doesn't make sense.
And speaking of that, as you might know, Latinos are the fastest group, the fastest community, the fastest growing community in North Carolina, according to the last census. And if, according to Dr. Johnson from UNC Chapel Hill, if you like to know the future of a place, just look the demographic trends. So if Latinos are the future, but we have this issue about fear, let's talk about Victor, about,
Yes.
Have you noticed any changes in savings, how people are dealing with money right now?
Voy a mencionar esa parte, pero quisiera volver a la pregunta anterior para puntualizar algo.
I'm going to respond to this, but I also want to go back real quick to the previous question because I had something to add to that.
La parte de los mortgages es muy importante para nosotros.
The part concerning mortgages is very important to us.
Les puedo decir porque muchas veces trabajamos bajo percepciones.
I mean, I can say frequently we work according to or underneath the perceptions that we're dealing with.
Pero le puedo hablar desde la figura de mirar números, ¿no es cierto?
But I can actually look at the work from a perspective based on data and numbers.
Nosotros en la Credit Union, desde enero a abril, hacemos una comparación con respecto al año pasado.
So at the credit union, we've been, since April, we've been doing a comparison of numbers.
Hay un decrease de un 25% de las aplicaciones y los préstamos cerrados en las casas.
So there's a decrease in 25% in applications for mortgage loans and loans for the houses.
Pero quiero dejarles algo bien claro y que es cierto.
But I do want to make something very clear and understandable.
Nosotros no tenemos ningún problema con nuestros socios por el pago de las casas.
We don't have any problem with any of our members with paying for their loans or making the mortgage payment.
La comunidad latina paga bien.
The Latino community pays their bills.
Lo otro, respondiendo a tu pregunta, te puedo decir que ha cambiado la manera como nuestros socios ahorran.
So in response to the question you just asked, I can say it has changed the way in which our members are saving.
Nuestra comunidad está teniendo más confianza en las instituciones financieras
So our community is having more confidence in financial institutions
porque el dinero está más seguro en una institución financiera que incluso en las casas o en el bolsillo.
because the money is actually more secure in a financial institution like a credit union than just keeping it in their pocket or investing in the house.
Because all the money is protected by the NCUA, National Credit Union Association, up to $250,000 for each account. Sorry.
Okay.
It's fine, it's fine.
Well, you know, in the problems that we have in immigration are not just federal. We also have some policies in Raleigh about immigrants. So, Jessica, recently, North Carolina General Assembly advanced several anti-immigrant bills that survived the crossover. Among them, HB 690, Citizens Support Act, which proposes, among other things, the restriction of public housing benefits for undocumented immigrants. Part of the bill says that local housing authorities must stop granting any kind of public housing benefit to undocumented individuals and implement a method to verify the immigration status of people. So they want for housing authorities, you know, in cities and counties to become kind of immigrant agents so they can verify the immigration status of the people. What are your thoughts of these kind of efforts?
Okay, undocumented people cannot receive subsidies. Like, they don't qualify for it already. So, like, what's the point of this bill is just to, it's like a discriminatory bill, and it just creates more of that fear to where families that are immigrant and do qualify, they're gonna stop applying for the benefits that they have available to them and that they qualify for. Again, I'll mention the mixed families where maybe a parent doesn't have full citizenship, but the kids are citizens, or another partner is a citizen. Like, that's gonna affect families and children. And people that actually need the help and that qualify for the help. So it's false that undocumented people can benefit from vouchers or anything like that. They can't. So it's a lie.
So the next question is tough because, you know, we're living in uncertain times. But if you could provide a possible solution for all this situation, if you would like to have a healthy construction sector, Carlos, what are the possible solutions for this situation, in your view?
You know, I start making rules, kind of just to protect the workforce, and, you know, just don't be making rules or making laws to scare them. I think that was my thing, you know. Let's go try to protect instead of just be scared. Because it's not affected just a person. It just affects the families, affecting the kids, affecting the future, affecting the whole community, affecting the whole state.
Victor, same thing. People have money, but they are not spending that money. What could be a possible solution for all this climate that we're living?
Education is solutions. We, as a credit union, we provide twice a year 2 financial classes, one in summer, one in fall. These are free classes for members and non-members. We prepare those people for what about the buy a house, build a credit, how you can open an account. That is important. If we can give all the resources to the member to buy a house in the future, they can do that.
Jessica, same question to you.
What was the question? I'm thinking.
Just going, right?
I'm just being mad.
What would you do? What would you suggest? What should we do?
So I'm putting my tenant rights, my housing justice organizer hat on when I say that we need housing that is outside of the speculative market, that is not going to go up and down based on the market trends, because I've seen a lot of people get displaced who have had secure housing, and they've been priced out. The seniors can't stay in place, age in place, and young people can't buy homes anymore. Like, it's so much more harder as a young person to buy a home and be okay. People are surviving out here. So we need a solution that is actually outside of the market, and what we call it is green social housing. We need it to be safe. We need it to be affordable based on anyone's income. Whatever that income is, they need to be able to afford housing. And as we see these immigration things happening, we already have a houseless population, a big one, and that's going to increase more with all these attacks on different communities. So if we don't want to keep seeing our neighbors, kids, seniors on the street, we need to like fight the things that are criminalizing them. It sucks that you're already pushed out of your housing and now you're a criminal because you're on the street. And it has to be drugs. No, it can't be the immigration bills that are targeting people. No, it's you're on drugs or you're doing something wrong. It's not the system. And so we need to go back to the system, and that's why I say that the solution is cooperative housing, community land trusts, is really building with purpose, you know, and like worker cooperatives where the workers own and the work, and so that's my solution.
Like I said, you know, like people don't work, people don't get money for the banks, people don't buy houses.
Exactly.
That's the problem, brother.
And Carlos, we were talking before the panel, and you know, contractors have to do creative things in order to protect their workforce, and many workers, they would like to avoid big city places like Charlottetown or Raleigh or whatever. They are more willing to work, you know, around the city. However, many constructors have to travel far away to bring some of the constructors. You told me the story of this a worker of yours that you had to go all the way to South Carolina to pick him up. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, like I guess, and a lot of my guys, my office is located in Indian, South Carolina, and that's where we meet every morning over there, my regular crews. I got a couple guys that live in the South Boulevard, Monroe, and Concord. So the guys in South Carolina, they drive every single day to South Boulevard to pick everybody up. But you know, maybe there was 1 week, 2 weeks, but now it's been like that 6 months now. And he's getting like, okay, well, you know, like, we need to do something about this because it's getting hard. Like, you know, it's not getting better. It's getting harder and harder and harder. And it just, I have a lot to say. I don't think we have enough time to do that. Especially she keep talking, like my head is going down, but more stuff to do. But yeah, it's sad, just like that way.
And Victor, we were talking about, you know, how these are impacting housing market right now. There are other markets that are impacted right now. We have seen people spending less money, and things like parties. We talk with singers, with mariachi singers, salsa singers, and they said, we usually book 2, 3, 4 shows a week. Now we're booking once every 2 weeks, if we're lucky. People to rent places to have parties, quinceañeras, weddings, whatever. They're not doing that anymore. How do you think this will affect the economy as a whole, Victor?
It's going to affect, definitivamente afecta a la economía. Puede sonar difícil de decirlo.
It's definitely going to affect the community, and this may sound, it's going to be difficult to say this.
Hace un par de semanas hubo un concierto, ¿no?, de Shakira. Este concierto llenó el estadio.
So let's say, you know, a week or so ago, there was a huge concert for Shakira, and this concert filled the entire stadium.
¿Qué pasa con esto? Nos damos cuenta que nuestra comunidad también tiene derecho a divertirse, a estar y tener relaciones sociales.
So what's going on this? We can obviously say that our community also has the right to enjoy themselves and participate in leisure and recreational activities.
La economía, hay dinero, hay trabajo. Nuestra comunidad lo que necesita no tener ese miedo para poder salir.
So with respect to the economy, there are jobs, there is money to pay workers, but we need the people to not feel afraid to go out and participate and get themselves involved.
Y es parte de Credit Union Philosophy is serve the unserved. Entonces, esto es importante para nosotros, exponer aquí que somos latinos, que queremos trabajar, queremos y aportamos a la comunidad también.
So it's so important for us that we really want to come here and express just how essential it is that we want to work with the community, educate the community, that we are Latinos and it's safe to participate.
Pero no solo latinos, quiero que esto vaya más allá porque somos inmigrantes.
Not just Latinos, it's much more than that. We are immigrants.
I expressed previously about the 137 people from different countries in our credit union. They are members. We have people from Asia, Bhutan, Burma, Nepal, so different persons, but those are immigrants, same like me.
Just before questions, one last thing for Jessica. You know, we have probably the most complex immigration system in the world, in the whole planet. And it haven't been updated in 40 years or so. We have many gaps. And many people genuinely didn't know how complex this immigration system is. After with many folks saying, hey, why don't they just give the exam and become citizen? And it's not as simple as that. Have you encountered this kind of misinformation about how the immigration system works and how are we in this mess?
I'm probably the wrong person to ask that because I'm not an expert on immigration, but I have lived experience, and even for us to navigate with our family is, what can we do or how can we? It's very complicated. That's all I know. That it's complicated and that
And expensive.
And people spend a lot of money trying to do things the right way and put in applications and get legal status every 2 years, where people have to pay more and more money every year to redo their status. So all I know is that there's a lot of money being invested in it, and that it's complicated. There's mixed status families, and that the laws and what we allow to pass will affect in a real way families. So, like I said, I mentioned TPS. TPS the first time of this administration, they took it away, and then family members were undocumented, and then even to buy homes, undocumented people. If the normal down payment is 10%, oh, you're undocumented, you got to pay 20%. And that's something that it's like 20%. How much are homes now? $300,000, $400,000. That's a lot of money to save. And so it's really hard to get ahead and to get to a stable place when the world is against you.
We're going to open the floor if there is any questions. We have some. There is a microphone over there. So let's start here. You raise your hands first, please.
Thank you, panelists. Thank you, guys. I'm Raquel Ramos, we're native of Charlotte. I'm just going to read the question because I don't want to fumble over my words. So I was sitting here thinking, if our city's immigration narrative continues to focus primarily on Hispanic communities, are we unintentionally reinforcing divisions across our neighborhoods between Black communities, Hispanic communities, Asian families, and white communities? And if so, how does this limited framing impact how we approach inclusive neighborhood development and access to affordable housing? And what can we do to ensure that our policies reflect full diversity of immigrant and non-immigrant families living side by side each other? And so I specifically work in a community where we have a diverse population of people, right? So I just wanted to kind of ask that based on the panel that I see today.
So I'll say this, that there's a certain group of people being targeted. We know that immigrants are a lot of people, Black, white, Latinos, everything. But in the news, the people that are being targeted are Mexican or Latino. That's who's being targeted right now. But I think it's important to always go back to, like, we're not the only immigrants that are being affected by this issue. Although, yes, in the news or in the spotlight, it is. That's who's being targeted and stopped and arrested, and at a bigger scale, I would think.
I would like to add, it's not too hard to ask for due process.
Hello. I have a question around narratives. During the last presidential election cycle, I was very disgusted by the rhetoric of how they presented immigrants as an extractive community or an extractive group. And a lot of the advocacy efforts try to combat that narrative by highlighting that immigrants are an economic benefit. But my question is there a danger if we reduce immigrants to just an economic force? Is that, in a way, might be dehumanizing in and of itself? And I have ambiguities about it, because you can say, is it a necessary evil that this is the game we have to play, and we have to talk in terms of economic benefits because it is a capitalist society? Or are there other alternative methods to advocate and present a more positive image of immigrant communities and the work that you guys do?
You know what? I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm originally from Venezuela. I moved here I would say close to 20 years ago. When you move to different countries, I come from the Italian family. So my grandfather, he was immigrant from Italy to Venezuela too. So I guess that run in the family. Yeah, I guess with the way I'm going right now, you're 100% right about that, you know? Like, yeah, we go target for like construction work and that. But the thing is, I got married with somebody from here. She's from South Carolina. I got my 2 kids. My older daughter, Bella, she's 16 years old. The only thing I can ask her, she cannot wait to go to college, to do international business to do better. So yeah, we focus on the Spanish people to be hard workers. But that habit being like has for the outsider, we need to come here, we need to do what we gotta do to start just building those things. And like I told you earlier, you know, if we were afraid to do that, or we're not just willing to work hard or prepare ourselves, we're just gonna die everything right here. And they always gonna be new people coming in and out, always gonna be new people, but we're gonna start right here. But if you get it a force like that, but now our kids are getting more educated, they're gonna get better things. Now it's gonna be engineers. Now they're gonna be like workers anymore like I was. You know, like I was a worker. Now she's gonna be a business. Oh, who knows what she's gonna be? But you know, that's.
I want to comment. I'm reflecting, and it is dehumanizing. It is dehumanizing, and I think that we have to be intentional about saying the things that are not safe to say. Like, we have to name the things as they are, and that even brings me back to what you had mentioned about like immigrants is everyone, right? We have to say that, and we have to bring that up to the top of what we're putting out there as media or as organizers or as leaders in businesses. We have to say those things in a space where it's not safe as far as the administration. Like, you might get targeted, but do we want people to die? Because that's what it is. Do we want people to be like targeted and put in jail when they haven't done anything wrong? We see that all the time.
Do we have time for just one more question? On the way back. Okay, please.
So, again, this is a fascinating panel discussion, so thank you for sharing your perspective. I want to come from a place of just coming through an election. There's a lot of dissension between the Black and brown communities, and I believe that we share more than what people think. Housing, access to credit, discrimination, deportations, all of that impacts people of color because you can visually see the difference, and there's a lot of perceptions around that. So my question and comment would be if you can just give a quick overview of the different groups, maybe sharing your country of origin if it's not the United States, but the diversity within the Hispanic culture, Hispanic groups. It's not a monolithic culture. Economically, it's not it's more of a class issue, and if I'm correct on that. And then ways that the Black and brown communities can come together to support each other.
Sí, definitivamente.
Definitely.
Este país es de inmigrantes.
This is a country of immigrants,
Se ha construido sobre esa base.
and it's been built up on that foundation.
Yo soy de Ecuador.
I'm from Ecuador.
Tengo 2 hijas y están en la universidad.
I've got 2 daughters in university.
Son la segunda generación
They are second
y
generation.
están aquí para aportar, al igual que ustedes, la generación de ustedes.
They're here to help, just like all of you and your generation.
Y venimos a contribuir a este país.
And we
definitivamente.
came to contribute to this country.
I am a U.S.-born citizen. My parents are Mexican, and I married a Salvadorian man. So that's the DNA of my family. And just reflecting on what everyone's talking about, what you were talking about, is, again, intentionality. This last week, I went with a couple of our members of Action NC to D.C. to protest the cuts to HUD and the cuts to Medicaid that are up. And we were reflecting because we're a group that has Latinos, African American, seniors, like we're of all ages and of all places. And it's within our group, we're like, how can we come together and like fight for each other in a way that is powerful? And that's what we came to the conclusion. We have to create spaces where we are getting to know each other and building relationships in a deep way. And we're not going to build relationships unless we intentionally create these spaces and spend time with each other. But that's going to be the difference because, like you said, the groups that are targeted have a lot of things in common, right? But of course, we have a culture that tries to separate us and think one group is better than the other, or and so that's what we were thinking organizationally.
And there are a lot of certifications, stuff like that. Again, come back with the construction. Again, we have certification, and I'm super involved with the city on the Mecklenburg too. But the only thing they give us is like 8% or 10%. It's like, okay, well, give it a little piece of construction for you because the main work, we give it to the same 5-6 company. They always get a job. They've been doing that for the past, I don't know how many years. So yeah, that's not just in Spanish. That's just the whole minority.
Okay. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to go a little bit long. We got time.
So in the interest of saying the difficult thing out loud, which you just mentioned, and this could be fake news, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but in the last election, the Latino community was responsible for 42% of the vote. In particular, this administration made inroads with the Latino community, specifically Latino men. So it would seem to me, or at least the way that it was reported, that it was because of the inroads made in the Latino community that we ended up with the administration that we now have. So how do you reconcile that within your own community? Because if you're, and no one should be targeted, we get that, but how do you reconcile the vote for the thing that was going to then have you on this panel?
Latino men and black men did us like that. I'll say that. What I'll say is that it's very frustrating as a community organizer because I meet people that we have to be careful what we say, but we have to name the things. There are people that don't realize that they are the target. They don't think that they're the ones, but they are the ones. And so we have to have those conversations with people. Like it might be frustrating for us as individuals that are aware, but we have to be like, that X, Y, and Z, right? Like, we're the same, right? That they're arresting citizens, right? So if they're arresting citizens, they're gonna get you too. We have to say those things. But yeah, for me, it's frustrating, and it's hard, but it's the truth. Like we have to talk about these things. And another thing that Latinos are very religious, and we have friends that, because Trump saves lives, I'm gonna vote for him because he's anti-abortion. And sometimes it's not all of it, but it's like that one thing that people latch onto that will drive the vote. So we have to educate ourselves and each other, like, but are there really less abortions now that he's in office? Is that really true?
I can mention a couple of things quickly. Meta, Facebook and Instagram, they implement this system to stop misinformation in English last year, not in Spanish. So it was very frequent for Cuban Americans, for Venezuelans, to watch videos saying that if Kamala Harris went to power, the U.S. will become Venezuela, and they are just escaping from a dictatorship, and many believe that, and many Venezuelans support the idea that President Trump will try to overcome Nicolas Maduro, dictator in Venezuela, and bring democracy. That didn't happen. So just one point to add. I think we have increases. Okay.
What you just mentioned is really important. That was my question too. But single issue voting probably had a lot to do with that. But we do know that the Latino vote did influence what we're all experiencing right now. My question really is about the sustainability of it all. We see that financially, losing immigrants, investments in the community, bigger paychecks, people buying houses, all those types of things. If we wipe out the immigrant influence in that, is the current administration
What happened in Florida when all the workers left? That's the
What
first
is
thing that came to
happening?
mind.
Yeah.
Well, closing remarks, despite the challenges that face undocumented immigrants in North Carolina, 340,000 pay $1.9 billion in taxes here in the state. They hold $7.2 billion in purchase power here in the state. An estimate of 28,000 undocumented immigrants are business owners. Undocumented immigrants are not draining the system. They are not criminals. They are not abusers of public programs. They pay taxes. They work. They contribute to this nation growth. But beyond the numbers, as we pointed out, immigrants are our neighbors, people with families, with dreams. It's very important to humanize the immigration issue. That's how we can become a welcome city. An applause for our panelists. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, one more question. I'm so sorry, Pat.
I'm visible in many ways. I'm Puerto Rican, and I was born in that faraway country called Bronx, New York City. But I want to just say that the governor is going to be going on a listening tour, Governor Stein, and he's been pushed by our secretary, which you were at the lunch and you heard, to go around because we're so diverse. The Latino community comes from very, very many places. I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything you do at Action NC. You put yourself on the line every day. Hector Vaca, the other day from Manolo Betancourt, that stood up and the things that are going on. My question to you is the economic impact that we've seen in the Latino community between 2018 and 2023 is 44% growth. I'm part of the Latin Business Action Network, and I'm a mentor. And I see business owners thriving and surviving and surpassing income. I mentor companies that $35 million in there increasing. Why are we not embracing it in Charlotte? Why are we so, excuse the expression, black and white, and not seeing the gray, and not supporting our Latino community? I wanted to ask you as experts.
I'm not an expert, but I will say this, that something that I was thinking about is, yes, Latinos, we have money, you mentioned, but we're not investing it here because it's not safe to invest it here. I know so many people that are building their houses. They're here temporarily because they know they can't be here permanently. And at any moment, they could be kicked out. And so imagine if we actually, you had mentioned this, like if we actually created a space where people could thrive, like how could we all benefit from people's, like everything, like, so that's just what I want.
No, I can say we can start educating our members because they can be prepared for the future. They can buy a house. That's the very important thing we can focus in at this moment. I know the situation is not favorable, but we can start doing that, like educating members, trying to get more knowledge about the situation because I know they are afraid because it's our community. It's hard for us, but we need to take care. So waiting because el tiempo va a cambiar.
Times are going to change.
Time is going to change.
And you know, we invest in places that we belong to, in which we are feeling welcome, in which we establish our homes. So hopefully this situation might change and finally we have this opportunity to be a welcome city. Thank you so much.